And this is a recipe from Patience Gray, her cookbook, Honey from a Weed. Just her writing is just stunning. So if you don't know who she is, I'd go look her up. And I think you can probably find this recipe online. Fasolaakia, Fasolákia. I'm making it slightly differently than she suggests, but the fundamental roots of this dish are with Patience Gray. Okay, so I have here some large lima beans. I think the Greek would call these gigante, but I also can stand corrected because there's a lot to know about beans and the varietals of beans, so gigante may be different. But what I've done is I soaked these overnight, and I poured off the soaking liquid. I always discard the soaking liquid. I do a couple of things that I've always been taught help reduce the sort of gassiness of beans, and I may have it completely wrong, and I stand open to be corrected. Anyways, I soaked them overnight in lots of cold water. I discarded the water the next day. I put them into a pan or a pot here, my cast iron pot. I covered them again with lots of cold water, and I brought them up to a simmer. There was lots of foam on the top that I skimmed off, and then I just simmered them for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, that's it. You just want them to start getting soft. In the back, I have some chicken stock that I made, and you'll notice there's a fatty cap on it. I did not take the fat off of it, skim the fat off of it. Beans love fat, and you know, just think about like navy beans and lard and you know, pork belly. I mean, beans need some fat. And you know, I mean, if you're a vegetarian and you don't want to use chicken stock, vegetable stock would be perfect. And I'd add some extra virgin olive oil to the to it to just give it some fattiness. I've got sliced onions. I've got a bit of sliced celery. I've got big chunks of potatoes, like not big chunks. Here's how I cut them. And you know, you might think, oh, I could add them later, but there's something I like about adding them right from the start when some of them will start to turn into rubble, and I just love that texture in the finished dish. I've got 2 cans of chopped tomatoes, and then I've got a big bouquet garni. And here I put in dill, parsley, and thyme. Now, Patience Gray calls for basil and parsley, I believe, but you can do whatever you want. Like, this would be fabulous with oregano, it would be fabulous with tarragon, you know, just use whatever appeals to you. And a couple of big bay leaves. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to toss the vegetables into the bean pot. So I put my beans and my vegetables in the pot, and I'm gonna season it with some salt. I'm not gonna go crazy because generally once it's done cooking, what I like to do as soon as I take it out of the oven is just have a taste and then season from there. And I'm not adding black pepper because I have this idea in my head that tomorrow when I serve it, I want to crack a lot of black pepper over it as garnish, you know, so that you get that sort of punch of pepper. So I'm just going to stir this up, and I'm going to add my chicken stock. Now, I think Patience Gray uses water, which is totally and completely suitable. As I say, vegetable stock would be really good. And to tell you the truth, can even imagine fish stock in this. Okay. So I just want to stir this up. It's really full. I took a little bit of the liquid out and I used about 1.5 cans of the crushed tomatoes. I don't want the tomato to be overpowering. And then I'm just going to put in this, you know, gigantic bouquet garni and and a couple of bay leaves in here. And I'm going to put this into about a 350-degree oven, and I'm going to let it cook for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'm going to check it and just see what it's like. I want you to know that whenever I'm making a bean dish, I always make it the day ahead of when I want to serve it, because beans are just like braised meat. They're just so good once they've had time to sit and for the flavors to develop in them. So this is actually Sunday lunch tomorrow. I'll show you how I finish them. But at this point, I'm imagining a really flavorful gremolata with some chopped green olives and lemon zest and parsley and dill and garlic, fresh garlic, and olive oil, lots of black pepper. That's sort of how I'm imagining it. Also some celery leaves. I've developed a real love for the insides, the celery hearts, and I think the leaves on this are will be a very good garnish. So I just want to show you, these are the beans. I took them out of the oven. Now technically these have cooked for probably about 2 hours, 2.5 hours at about 350. And you can see they're still intact. The potatoes are doing what I want the potatoes to do. They're slightly turning to rubble. And I had the lid on for about 45 minutes, and then I took the lid off because I had a lot of liquid in here and I wanted some of it to reduce. And as soon as it came out of the oven, I took out the flavoring bundle and the bay leaves, the flavor spent there, and then I seasoned it. And now I'm just going to let it sit, and they're ready for tomorrow. Okay, so here's the fasolákia, and you can garnish it whatever way you like. I made a little gremolata with parsley and garlic, lemon peel, fresh dill, and extra virgin olive oil. And then I really like the flavor of celery leaves, so I've also used that to garnish. This would also be perfect with a big glug of extra virgin olive oil. Is that the potatoes turn into a kind of rubble in the soup. It's really homey in terms of its texture, and I like it a lot. Here's the thing I want to tell you though. If you make a big pot of fasolákia and you want to freeze it, I might leave the potatoes out and cook them at the time of service, because potatoes don't freeze that well and they get a kind of an interesting texture in this that I don't totally like. So that's up to you. You might be okay with that texture. If I were going to make a big pot and freeze it, I would definitely leave the potatoes out and cook them until near rubble in the beans, you know, for whatever dinner I was making. So to garnish this, I'm going to take a big scoop of this MC Dairy sour cream from here in Toronto, and I'm going to take a lot of fresh dill. I'll stir it in. You might think that's a lot, but I'm going to stir it in. It'll be perfect. And I leave the base of the beans fairly neutral so that I can do these things with the garnish. There's just a million things that you can do with this in terms of garnish. And then Lots of black pepper. There's something about the black pepper in this finish that that I just love. I'm such a creature of habit. Anything on the rim is like, freaks me out. Too much French training. At any rate, there you have it. Fasolákia. Today it's garnished with black pepper, sour cream, and fresh dill.